Hello, and a very good evening to everyone present here today. I'm Shivangi Chabra from Team Espousal, and thank you so much to everyone for taking out the time and joining us for the very first international version of Espousal 2022. We've had some great panel discussions so far, and we are in day two of the event. So far, completed 14 sessions successfully, and moving on to a session number 15 for today, which is on the topic pre and post wedding blues and how to handle them. And I take immense pleasure in introducing each and every one on this panel. And in no particular order, we have Kevin T. Robertson, who is the CEO at Speaker Focus and a very integral part of Espousal from the very beginning. He's a professional speaker and also has helped and trained many people in becoming highly paid speakers. We have Tinamarie Rodriguez, CEO of Miss Tinamarie Speaks from the USA. She is a leadership speaker, a wisdom coach, and teaches an empowerment system to build human connections. She's also going to be the moderator for this session. We have Rafael Escobar, the CEO and co founder at Escobar Fitness from the USA. He also helps people maintain their health and manage stress. He's a trusted leadership speaker and an expert fitness coach to top corporate professionals. We have Alison Butters from the UK. She is a life coach and a founder of Alison Butter Coaching. She is an internationally certified life coach and NLP practitioner. And last but not the least, we have Amee Dharamshi. She is a conflict management professional and a private mediator at Dialogue Den Bangalore. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Over to you, Tina Marie. Thank you.
Everyone, and welcome. It's a pleasure to be here with Team Espousal. Good morning, Rafael, Alison, and Amee, and Kevin. It
Good
is
morning. Good
phenomenal.
morning.
Good morning. It is phenomenal to see everyone today. So let's get started. We know Espousal is extraordinary. It's the virtual platform that took everyone by storm. So let's do them proud. So we are here to have the topic about pre and post pandemic wedding blues. We ask, how can a wedding be sad? So I'm going to give the first question over to Amee. What are the wedding blues?
What are the wedding blues? That's such a broad question. That is what we are going to talk about in this entire in this entire session. But I think I'm going to start off with wedding being the blues.
Okay,
Just the decision to be together, decision to formalize being together.
wonderful. Okay, great job. Raphael, you're one of the men on our panel, and sometimes we do not hear from our men during the wedding. It's always about the bride, never the groom.
All right.
So we definitely have to change that. What is your perspective of being? I'm going to ask the same question that I asked Amee. What is the wedding
Okay.
blues? What are the wedding blues for
Okay.
you?
Okay. First of all, can you hear me just fine?
Yes, I
Yes.
can hear you just fine.
Okay. Perfect. If I had to describe the wedding blues, I would use one word, and I would say it's depression. And you might think to yourself, like, how is depression involved in a wedding, right? Like you said, it's such a happy moment for us. At such a transitional point in life that to be sad seems almost impossible, right? But here's the thing that I realized throughout my life is that you can only feel love at the level that you choose to feel pain, right? And during these moments in a wedding, not only are you with the person that you love the most in the world, which is your spouse, but you're also with the people that you love the most, your family, your friends, and being around them can arise a lot of different feelings. And truth be told, both for the bride and for the groom, it is a stressful time. There is so much going on. It is all happening so quick. So you're kind of on edge. So in one moment, you could be really happy because something happened. And then the next moment, you could just flip a switch and become sad. And I would like to say that it's normal and that it's almost needed because if you don't know how to feel bad, you don't know how to feel good, if that makes sense. So I think that the wedding blues is something that is needed. It's unfortunate, but we're here to help discuss on how to deal with it, right? So that's what I think the
Exactly.
wedding blues are.
See, that's a great answer. That Amee, your answer was wonderful as well. Raphael, you hit it the nail right on the head. Allison, what would you like to add about the wedding blues?
Thank you, Tinamarie, and I love the answers of the other panel members as well. I think if we go to the root, because often what might be the presenting issue is not really what's going on underneath. And as an NLP practitioner, that's where we need to dig deeper. And I think if we find a way to let go of expectation, because we've, as Rafael has touched on, and there is this, there's this image that this day is going to be perfect, and that puts so much pressure on us as human beings,
Right.
and all of our loved ones are there as well. So if I think the way that I would see it is to release some of that pressure, is try to be as grounded and present and in the moment as possible, and let go of expectation, because truly there isn't anything perfect. We're trying to achieve a false ideal. And if we
Right.
speak to how many people that got married, those moments where it didn't actually go according to plan, that's those memories and those heart moments that locked in, that people remember and that bring joy to people as well. So that's what I would say, is try to release that pressure by letting go of expectation and go with gratitude and appreciation.
I truly love, thank you, Alison. I truly love that answer, especially when you spoke of heart moments, because that's the central part of it should be the central part of the wedding. Everyone's heart, the well wishes, the just the pure joy of watching two lives being joined into one, so to speak,
Right.
and having everyone there. You, like Rafael said, Amee, having be in the moment. Like, I love that. That's wonderful. That's how you build human connections, by being in the present moment. And that leads me to one of my questions, my other questions. And I'm gonna start with Rafael, being the one of the
Okay.
men on the panel.
Got it.
What is the best way to tackle some of these problems in your experience? What would be
So
one of the best ways to tackle the wedding blues?
okay, so I'll answer it this way. And when I thought of the wedding blues, I thought of the things that affected me the most in my experience, and I'll share from there. Let me just take a sip here. Mm. So the three major blues that I faced were anger, anxiety, and loneliness, right? And those are all negative emotions that were weighing on me from one moment to the next. So in my profession, in my field, what I do is I help people manage these situations. I help people manage stress and increase energy. So that's where I'll come from. Here's the tips that I'll give you. Okay. When it comes to anger, right? When it comes to that high level emotion, the best thing that you can do to tackle that is become aware. Awareness is key, right? Especially in a relationship where it's two people. It's not just you, it's not just the groom, it's not just the spouse. And if you're not aware of your emotions and how you're feeling, you have the potential to spill it onto your partner. And the last thing you want to do is create some sort of discord or some disconnect with the person whose day it's for, right? It's for the two of you. So when it comes to anger, it's just simply stopping and being aware of how you're feeling and communicating to spin out of that. Now, when it comes to anxiety, right? For me, it's all about action. When it comes to the wedding, you can't do anything beforehand in terms of go through the wedding, right? You have to be at the wedding to go through the wedding. But it's all these thoughts that get us before that creates this mass amount of pressure and anxiety. And here's what I'll say is anxiety is cured by action. And where I suggest people take action is in their health and fitness. Reason why is because it creates a dramatic focus in your life where you really have nothing else to think about but your well-being and the well-being of others around you. So when it comes to nutrition, right, I would say follow a well-timed, well-programmed nutrition plan that keeps you feeling good. Over 80% of our serotonin or feel-good molecule lies in our gut. So what you're feeding is what you're feeding yourself is what you'll be feeling. So don't do yourself a disservice by eating, excuse my language, but garbage up until the wedding, and take care of yourself so that you feel good, right? When it comes to exercise, keep a regular routine of 3 days per week, a minimum of 45 minutes per session. Walking counts, but same day, same time. What you're building is self-confidence. What you're building is discipline. What you're building is all the intangible soft skills that you're going to bring into the wedding. right? So exercise has a direct correlation to our happiness and our well-being. So why not practice that up to, through, and after the wedding? And the last thing is, when it comes to dealing with loneliness, I would say above all else, it's responsibility, right? Making sure that through the process, you're being the best team member that you can be, being the best person that you can be, and not just the day of the wedding, but every day leading up to it, every day during, and every day after. Because especially as men, we're there to support our wife, we're there to be strong, we're there to stand tall. But at the same time, if we talk about what's going on, if we let our feelings out, then it creates this connection, this unity bond for everyone there. So I would say to tackle these negative emotions is take action and be aware and create responsibility in your life. That's what I would do.
Thank you so much, Rafael. Amee,
Absolutely.
how would you tackle these problems of the wedding blues?
Yeah, I think before I answer, I have a disclaimer to make that every experience and every word that I speak is the situations that I have seen and not personally experienced. I would have seen it within my friend circle or the families or the society or the culture that we follow, everything around me. That's the disclaimer. But experience from my experience, I think from the part of world that I come from, we there was time that most marriages were arranged. When we say arranged, it's by the families for the partners. But now we have a mix of situations where we have partners deciding to be together. So I think the problem, or I would say the blues, the burden of blues, yeah, the burden of feeling the situation when we talk about the arranged marriages where the families arrange for the partners is with the partners. The partners needs the burden is more on the partners because it's everything is very new and they need to adapt to the cultures, to families, and they are put on the stage to perform already, and they need to keep up, level up with their expectations of their own family as well as the other family. But when we talk about other situations, other scenario, that's the we term it as love marriages here, and this is where the partners themselves decide to be together, and there's still decisions where the families are involved. So I feel the burden of the situation to adapt to the situation is with the families, more of the parents, because they would accept or they would have expectations, and I'm not sure, unfortunately or fortunately, but this is the culture, and both systems have their pro and cons, and both systems have been adapted very in a healthy way. But there are things that we talk about when we can apply what I'm talking about from the field, that the career that I come from, the legal career and the dispute management, and so, settling the divorces through mediation or planning the co-living arrangement, co-parenting, and the prenups. We could still bring the idea of prenups with the partners, but there's a long way to go to bring this idea to be accepted by the families as well. We are somewhere in between. So these are the situations that I have seen and the points that I can mention at this stage.
Thank you so much, Amee, especially bringing in a different culture. Because in the United States, where I'm from, we hear about that, but we truly have never experienced it. So I thank you for bringing, if you could speak just a little bit more about the pros and cons of arranged marriages and how it's changing now where you are on your part of the world, because that's something I think we could all learn a great deal from. And especially that adds another avenue. Say I love what you said, burden of the blues, because it is a burden a lot of the times. There's a lot of burdens when you're getting married, before you're getting married, from the engagement. I think it seems to be from the engagement all the way through to you say I do. There's so much turmoil and stress levels that are so high. So if you could please just touch on the arranged marriage and how it's changing from arranged marriage to, as you said, to people that are now making their own choices, but still with the extent of the family as well.
the pros and cons of arranged marriage. I think every word that I speak is opinion, and my personal opinion of the situation, of the friends that I have seen who have healthily adapted and who have decided that this is how we would like to go ahead. That is, we would like to have an arranged marriage. We would like to have the family find a partner and choose a partner. So it's mostly how I view it. If you ask me, I would not prefer it. So I see it, I do not see the cons that my friend sees as a pro. So the pro and con are going to exchange and be different. But on behalf of the culture, I can say, on behalf of the culture and the society, I can say the cons are many. The cons are many, right? Because you do not know the person, and it's all new, and the arrangement is arranged. Even the arrangement is arranged, and there are rules set, and it's by default. So there is no much space to be yourself unless the partner is willing to give that space. Because there is no discussion before the marriage of how it's going to be after the marriage. So it's just understanding on this is how it's going to be. There's no discussion. There might be short discussions to see how the person looks. Luckily, we have that in few decades, but ancestors, we even didn't have that. Uh, so the family would arrange. I'm not sure if it's because of the geographical reason, but you would directly be presented on the day of the marriage. Um, but now it's changed. You get to spend time with the other potential partner and then get to decide. But then if you have to say a no, if you have to say a no, you better have a good reasoning. That is the situation I have seen in the society around here, because you need to speak to the other person and explain. So a lot of people, during their meetings, just express to the other partner that I cannot tell my family that I do not want to be in this arrangement, but I'm going to be open to you and tell. So these are just these examples that I'm telling you. So it could be pro for me, could be con. You know, it's just going to be different. But if you ask me, the good thing that I see is I see is the family support, and I like that aspect of this entire arranged marriage arrangement. There's great family support to the partners, and there's a system, and we just need to follow the system. There's no new thing that I must do. So I could see this as a pro, but it may sound weird to the other side of the world.
No, not at all. No, not at all. I mean, thank you so much for explaining something that on the other side of the world we don't have knowledge of. We hear about it, we read the stories about it. Sometimes we see the negative side of arranged marriage, but not of someone who lives in the country, say where arranged marriages are. So it's thank you so much for sharing that and bringing that out to not just only us on the panel, but in our audience who may have the same questions that just don't have the opportunity to ask. So thank you so much, Amee. Alison, how would you, as in your field, in your industry, as a practitioner, how would you tackle some of these wedding blues?
That's a really big question, and I will try to do my best to answer. I think if we look at the positive intent that we all have the desire to be the best human that we can be, but when we are stressed and when we're put in an anxious situation where those emotions are building, that might change. And Raphael's touched on self-awareness. So I think it really starts with us. We need to take responsibility for ourselves, and that'll alleviate some of that expectation as well. Because really, we can't manage or influence other people's behaviors. We're only accountable and responsible to ourselves. So if that calmness starts with us, then that ripples out to those around us as well. So it's unconditioned love takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of truth, and it takes a lot of vulnerability. So if we have that calmness, it's also about being vulnerable and asking for help where you need it, I think, because sometimes, especially Rafael's touched on that male pressure and Amee's description of like the cultural differences as well. There is support there, and we're not meant to do these things on our own. So have that confidence to reach out, and where there possibly can be help, access that help as well. And what that does is build that self-confidence in you, because really we've got everything we need within us. We've got that power within us, regardless of whatever situation. And we've got to remember that uncertainty, it's how we manage it and how we turn up and how we are present and dealing with that. So if we are grounded and calm, as I've referenced before, that puts us in the best position to be able to deal with whatever comes up. And remember, it's perfectly natural. Our bodies are designed to keep us safe, but we also need to tap into the intuition of that anxiety and look at the messages and what's actually going on underneath, because that all helps our understanding, and it also helps how we communicate with our loved one and everybody else around us as well. If we have really meaningful, impactful connection and communication, we can usually resolve most things. But it takes, like I said, a bit of vulnerability to do that as well. So there's a whole emotional soup that's going on. But we do have, what I'd like the audience to take away is that you really have the power to be able to deal with that. Everything you actually need is within you.
That is beautiful. And I agree with each one of you, Rafael, Amee, and Alison, and Kevin, who we have not heard from, but we will be hearing from shortly. I do believe that it's about the connection. For me, it's about the connection. My field is being an effective communicator. And for me, part of quelling the wedding blues is taking time, not only just for you and your partner, but for yourself, to establish yourself, to ground yourself, to know that there are many differences, be it culturally, emotionally, socially, with our friends and our families. And one thing that we didn't touch on, which creates wedding blues, I know it was for me personally, was financially, because everyone wanted something different. You listen to different family members and your friends are telling you, no, you should get this dress, or you should, as the bride, no, you should get this caterer, or the flowers should be like this, the venue should be like this. That's why espousal is so perfect, that in a sense of it's virtual. We have a chance to actually breathe through everything, to see different avenues of how a wedding is put together and have less pressure. And we should enjoy the moment. It's between those two people where what we're witnessing is really love on display for everyone and in action. That's just my personal point. So this is an excellent panel, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I get the next question is, what kind of wedding blues do couples experience? And you don't have to be married. To the couples in the audience, if you have questions, please feel free to ask our panel. What do you think, Amee? I'm gonna go back to you, even with your disclaimer. I love that, the disclaimer. I'm gonna remember that throughout the day. What do you think is some of the pre-wedding blues that couples experience that you've seen?
No, I think the disclaimer goes away here, because it's pre-wedding, and I would have faced it too with my partner. But we talk about, as a lawyer, I would tell my clients, think about a prenup. But if you put me in the situation with my partner, there's a question of trust. There's trust and faith questioned, and it's the understanding being questioned. Now, it's again difficult situation. We do say that prenups are important, but when it comes to ourselves, are we going to take it up? How confident are we to have that difficult conversation? So even if I am a professional giving that advice to my client, when I am put into that situation, I'm going to look for a professional who can help me into my difficult conversations. So I think when it comes to pre-wedding, this is one point which has always stayed with me of how to tackle the discussions. And we don't you don't need a third person professional, you just need to talk, and sometimes the interpretations are so different. So it's better to put on a page, and then if you would like to call the page as a prenup, that's fine, but it's better to put on the page and then have weekly conversation or monthly review of what we've agreed, because life evolves. The time you decide also on the prenup, it's not going to be the same life, you evolve. So I think this is one point that I have to share for this
That
question.
is definitely a great point, is to actually sit down and have that challenging conversation. I don't like to use the word difficult because it gives a negative connotation. So I use the word challenging. Sit down and have that challenging conversation, and not in a time where you're, as Rafael had pointed out before, when you're in that emotion of anger, because anger is a volatile emotion. Sit down and have a conversation when everything is calm, when you're away from everyone, and see what you both want out of this union. I think that's something that would calm the wedding blues, or would divert at least some of the wedding blues that couples experience. Alison, I'm going to send the same question to you. What would do couples experience with the pre-wedding blues?
I think it's a
In
lot
your
of those
experience.
things, yeah, a lot of things that crop up. And again, it goes to especially they're really exacerbated in this situation when the focus is entirely on that couple, and it's understandable, and that's part of that human experience. And like you say, it's a challenge. But I think what we can do in those moments is, and it is difficult because any level of uncertainty, our natural response is to want to walk away from it and go to a place of safety. But if we actually identify what's going on, what those thoughts are coming up, what if I'm not good enough? Is this the right time? Is this going to work? What if this happens? We end up all of that in a narrative. We end up having this inner dialogue with ourselves. But if we capture those thoughts and realize, and for the audience to remember, thoughts are not facts. So, but if we identify where that anxiety is coming from, and again, it goes back to that work and our own self-awareness. If we're in this point and it's a rite of passage, it's a defining moment in a couple's life. If you are aligned, your values, all of those things are there, and you have that unconditioned love, you need to go back to those memories. You need to go back and be present with that. And that'll counter and evaporate those natural thoughts that come up that start to challenge us, and call what I call a Panna Cotta moment, when we get a little bit wobbly inside and go, oh, am I doing the right thing? And we start to question ourselves. But really, if we just again take that breath, go back to who we are and why we're here, and what we love, and the joy that we experience with each other, and that's really that foundation to build from and diffuse of all of those other thoughts that will start to naturally come in. Any anxiety, any doubts, or any fears, it's about examining them, looking at them, and diffusing them, but also taking note of them as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Again, in our audience, we are here for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Rafael, I am going to ask you, I'm going to ask you about what kind of post-wedding blues do couples experience? I know there are many.
Thank you for the differentiation, because I do believe that the pre and post wedding blues are different. Now, When it comes to the post-wedding blues, right? Let's first start with I like the word you use, Tina, the negative connotation on blues, right? First, is my screen frozen?
No, you're fine.
Okay, cool. So there's this negative connotation with these negative emotions, right? Meaning that there's something bad or something that you can't be anxious, you can't be stressed, you can't be angry, you can't be all these things, right? Or you don't want to be. But like I said at the beginning, without experiencing those negative feelings, how could you ever experience the positive? So in this moment, I'd like to break the relationship with these blues and actually see them as a good thing, right? And here's why, is because it's what you do in the moments of stress that really determines who you are, right? I can't believe it. I think it was Alison who said it, is when you're faced with that pressure is you get a decision, right? Everything you do in life is a decision. So it's a choice. You can only control your thoughts and your actions. And if you're not aware that you're in a blue, which a lot of people aren't aware that they're even depressed or angry or anxious after the wedding, that is you just tend to act out of that emotion, right? So you're more irritable, you're angry, you're upset, you're all these things that aren't really who you are, but it's who you've become because you've allowed the pressure to get to you. And after the post-wedding blues, or after the wedding, it's less about the pressure leading up to it, but it's more of the downfall, right? Because think about it. You've spent all this time, sometimes years, planning for a wedding, and there's all this anticipation. There's all this kind of energy going into the wedding. Then you're in the wedding, and it's, at least for me, I'll say this. When I was in my wedding, I was kind of like breathless, almost like speechless, like, oh, I can't believe I'm here almost, right? And it was just so much good emotion, so much, all sorts of emotions that afterwards, if you're not careful and say you have a 3-4 day wedding and you party really hard or you stay up really late or you break your, what I would call routine or rhythm of regular life, what could happen is you can have a serious downfall afterwards if you're not careful, right? We're talking about a physical, mental, and emotional low. A physical low looks like this: is if you were come off and now you're worried about, the debt, or you're worried about, you're no longer taking care of your body because all you were concerned about was up to the wedding, right? Mentally, you kind of check out, and I'm married, so okay, we're good, back to normal, right? And it's no, and the last thing is emotionally, right? After a wedding, it can almost feel like something's ended, right? And that can cause a lot of grief. And the reality is that something did end. Your former life, you're now in a new life with somebody else, and you're a responsible teammate. And all those barriers, all those thoughts, all those moments where you get to decide what it is that you want to do, right? Is, I would say, look at it from a standpoint of what's going to make me the best husband or wife, what's going to make me the best father, right? Or mother, what's going to make me the best human, and have all your actions after the wedding align with that, right? And if you find yourself slipping after about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even after a month, right? A lot of people are just throw everything out the window and just kind of go back to normal life. And I'm saying, no, us humans, we're meant to evolve. We're meant to grow. So just look at it as a stepping stone. Know that there's going to be challenges afterwards, and prepare yourself by the challenges by having some sort of routine or rhythm coupled with self-awareness and responsibility in your life. And you can set yourself up to manage those post-wedding blues, because they're going to be there. There's going to be a moment where you're angry, where you're upset, where you're going through something. And it's up to us as individuals to stop, reflect back, and see why we're feeling that, and then see what we can do about it. Either change the thought, take an action, go for a walk, you name it. There's a lot of things that you can do to get out of those blues, but it's about taking action and knowing that they're going to be there.
Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful.
Of
It's
course.
concise and to the point. The next question, and I'm going to start with Amee. How do you keep, as a lawyer, from your perspective, and that's a wonderful field. My heart is in part of law, so I do love that. How do you keep the wedding excitement alive through having the wedding blues? And it's possible for me. I'm a positive person. How do you keep the excitement alive? And this is going to be a question to my whole entire panel, but I would like to start with Amee. How do you keep that wedding excitement alive through those blues?
Before I answer, first thing, it's good that I attend this session, so it's going to prepare me very well. And second, I'm going to take back the word challenging from here and replace it with difficult. But the third thing I can only think of the very quick answer right now is keep people like Amee, Alison, and Rafael with you.
I love that answer, Amy.
That's a great answer.
That's a great answer. We are all in
Yes.
agreement, yes. And we wish you
Yes.
nothing but blessings when that day arrives. It is a beautiful
Yeah.
day, as long as you keep it close to who you are and who your partner
Yeah.
is. That can, that's something that I could say. Keep it close to who you and your partner are. And like I said, my favorite word is challenging and courageous. Those are my words for the year. So if
Yeah.
you go into it with that mindset, and it's all, and which everyone is saying, Rafael, Alison, and Amee, as well as you, it is the mindset that you go into with the wedding. That's the excitement. If you keep going with your partner in mind. Yes, this has been a wonderful panel. I could talk to you all afternoon and all evening. But we have 5 minutes left. So with that being said, it's the joining of two people, and we know we're very different. Everyone is very different, with different thought patterns, different cycles, as Rafael pointed out in his industry. Keep the routine. I'm going to take away that, and thank you so much to all of you. I'm going to
Yeah.
take that away, Alison, and what you said. Keep grounded. Have, Amee, the difficult conversation. Well, let me refresh that word. It's how we talk to ourselves and to our other people. Be careful of don't talk at someone, talk to them, speak to them. you know that's another part, the solution of the wedding blues. Journal, from a lot of times, is another suggestions that I would send with our audience, and each other. Journal what you're feeling. And as Raphael pointed out, and Amee and Alison, you touched on it as well, go through the process of those emotions, be able to feel them, because you'll grow from that. So, as our host is telling me so eloquently in the private chat, it has been a pleasure to share this stage with you. Kevin T. Robertson, it was a pleasure. Rafael Escobar, it was amazing. Amee, it was amazing. And Alison, definitely an amazing, amazing time. We hope you have nothing but value. To the audience, we gave you value, knowledge, and love. To all the couples that are entering into marriage, the ones who are not there yet, love yourself first. It has been an honor and a privilege to be your moderator today, and continued success and blessings in your industries. And to Team Espousal, thank you so much for this blessing and this honor and this time to share. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Take care, everybody.
Take
Thank you so much, everyone, for the lovely session. Thank you, Amee, Alison, and Rafael. But before we end the session, we have Nicky Anstey from the UK who would like to share a few words with us. Let's see that.
So what are pre and post-wedding blues? Well, pre-wedding blues are basically down to the stresses that weddings can give with all that organisation you've got to do, and also the setting of unrealistic expectations for yourself, for others, for the situation. So it's just a big amount of stuff going on that we have to deal with. And then post is something slightly different, where we put all our energy into the wedding, and suddenly when it's gone, we feel a bit of void of direction. We don't really know where we're going. So how do we tackle all of that? Well, the first thing is to really understand each other's expectations as a couple. We sometimes forget that it's our wedding, as in both of our weddings, and we go off on our tangents on what we both want, but we're not actually aligned. So it's really important that we talk about that. What are the roles we're going to make? What is the budget? How are we going to achieve that? What's the time it's going to take? Who do we need to get involved? Just understanding that for a starter is really important. And then being able to communicate that out towards all of your family, your extended family, your friends, anywhere that you're having the venue, just so that everybody knows what your expectations are. and also understanding theirs. I know that my mum felt that it was her wedding. She forgot it was mine quite a lot of the time. And it's really important that we understand on all levels what's going on. And then we can kind of align each other by finding compromises and reminding them whose wedding it really is. And then thirdly, it's about just focusing on what you want. We're very good at focusing on what we don't want. We're very good at focusing on people's limitations and the things that irritate us. So it's really important that we focus on what we do want, which is to have a wonderful day, a happy day, and to be together and celebrate, instead of focusing on all of the challenges and the problems, or the possible problems that might happen. And then accepting each other for who you are. You know, you're getting married because you love each other. So accept that we all have strengths, but we also have quite a few limitations of our own. And we have to accept each other for those limitations. And in those stressful environments, which is a wedding, it can really get bigger and seem out of proportion. So just focus on the good things of one another. And then remember that we need to prioritize that, you know, we are the most important. The person that's getting married to you is the most important, rather than the wedding itself. It can take on a whole new thing. So just focus on them and realize that just because they may have slightly different views of how to do it, it doesn't mean that they think of you any less. And then prioritizing what's really important. People don't really notice detail, so stop getting stuck in the detail and just enjoy the fun and the happiness that you want to give. That's really important. That's the most important thing in any wedding. And then keep connected with your partner. It's really important that you connect and stop talking about weddings at times. Remember why you're getting married in the first place. And then when you're in the wedding, it's really important that you let go of that control. Just enjoy the moment and accept what it is and enjoy it. If it's raining, it's raining. It doesn't matter. Just get out there and enjoy it and spend some time together being mindful. And then after it's all over, it's really important that you spend time chatting about it, catching up with all the things that you've missed, talking to friends, family, enjoying, make a big thing about the photos. And remember, you always have your memories and you can keep those close to you. And then finally, it's about focusing on new challenges, new exciting paths that you want to go down, and just look at those goals and work out what those are. So I hope this helps, and I trust that you're going to have a fantastic time and enjoying all the rest of the panel that are there. And take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nikki, and thank you again, everyone, for joining this panel.